Thursday night football's on tap, and what could be more fun than a game between the Panthers and the Bears with seemingly no Justin Fields in sight? We're going to get into it today. Of course, the totals in this one: Carolina 17.8 implied points, Chicago 20.8 implied points, as you can see scrolling beneath me down below. But let's talk about it here. Appreciate the Squirt Squad being here in chat. I am a little bit late today. People asking for when. Have no fear. I am here for you every single Monday and Thursday, and of course, every single Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. here on Splash Play. Let's talk about this game today because it is one that I think a few things jump out based on the advanced analytics, of course, that I really sweat and look through porously at. Is that a thing? At Sports Info Solutions. The EPA metrics jumping off the page to me. Chicago's defense, they are not very good at defending the pass. They are very good at defending the run. So right away, that drives me to the guy on the cover of this thumbnail, a guy who I imagine is going to be pretty chalky today. Adam Thielen, a player who the last 2 weeks since the offensive coordinator Thomas Brown has taken over the play calling, we haven't seen Adam Thielen have the big spikes. You can see it right in the game log. Did have 11 targets against Houston, only caught 8 of them for a 15.2 fantasy point day. Had 6 targets against Indianapolis, caught 5 of them for a 7.9 DK point day. So Thielen has not been great lately, but he is the highest priced player on this slate. It is a game where the Panthers game script where you'd expect Chicago to be in the lead a little bit more. Thielen, we know, can get there certainly. And also no DJ Chark expected in this game as well. He's banged up. So Thielen, a little bit more targets going his way, probably more routes going the way of a guy like Terrace Marshall, Jonathan Mingo as well. But Thielen heavily in the mix. And I do think that Thielen for me is going to be the player I go to here. Again, Chicago on the year, 0.11 EPA per dropback allowed, 0.13 EPA per pass allowed. It is a very hospitable matchup for the pass game. But also sometimes when you have a kind of shitty QB like we do have in Bryce Young, you could sometimes just see the receiver get there and be the one to benefit from this very favorable matchup that we're going to see tonight. So this spot to me for Adam Thielen, I think, is a strong one. And one thing else that drives it over the top, Adam Thielen, 0.43 EPA per red zone pass is what he'll be facing tonight against the Bears defense. So I think Thielen's a very strong play tonight. I am not the biggest Adam Thielen fan, as you guys know, from an entire offseason. Not that I'm some hero being alone in that take, because it's been proven to be completely wrong relative to ADP. But that said, this matchup, no Chark. Chark last week took a touchdown away that maybe could have been Thielen's. Mingo, I think we all know what I feel about him at this point. Not the most impressed by him, but he is running a lot of routes, playing a lot of snaps, so he can still get there. But Thielen's been the only guy who can get open. He is an EPA crusher as well. Has a 0.48 EPA per target on the year. He's the only positive EPA player in this entire Carolina offense besides Tommy Tremble. And Tommy Tremble's doing it for a lot less volume. So I think Thielen, to me, wouldn't say he's a you can't fade guy. Obviously, he's going to be very highly owned. But I do think that Thielen is a key part of what you should be doing tonight for Showdown. Double DKs, double Ds, I presume, and Thielen win all the money. Potentially, that is it. It is a low total game for sure. People complaining about this game everywhere. We have NFL football. Enjoy it while it lasts. Be thankful. I agree. I think sometimes these ugly seeming island games can be ones that actually end up a lot of fun. And these are two defenses too that just aren't that good. So I think in this spot, we actually should see some production here. But again, as we talk about a lot with these showdowns, bad defense versus bad offense sometimes doesn't really actually benefit the offense, but sometimes it does. And I think at this spot, I'm willing to play into it a little bit more and assume that we might see a little more scoring than not, especially if the defenses end up highly owned, as we'll talk about in a moment. And of course, I forgot to do my proper intro. I'm kind of flustered today because we're doing some stuff with Probably. It was very important before the show, testing our new revenue products, which I'm going to be asking you guys to pay for soon at probably.com. So check those out if you want. Point being, for this slate, I am going to build lineups 3 ways, of course. I am going to hand build this lineup as we have started to do here. I'm going to optimize lineups. I'm going to simulate lineups. And at the end of the video, I'll give you guys 3 takeaways about how to build more unique lineups. So I forgot to do my usual preamble here. It's very important for people who don't stumble across this video and don't know what I'm doing. They're just walking right into me, rambling away. That's my bad. All right. Who else should we put in this lineup? Obviously, Fields not in play. Badgett does seem to get there quite a bit. Badgett in the last few games, I think, steadily over. Well, let's see. Steadily around 15 fantasy points, 19.8 last game against a fairly tough New Orleans defense. I would say that visually, that's probably the most impressive game that we've seen from Tyson Badgett so far. So I think Tyson Badgett is a play that I don't mind getting to. Carolina's defense, though, a lot better against the pass than it is against the run. They're a flat 0 EPA against the run. They are a minus 0.06 EPA per dropback team, minus 0.07 EPA per pass team is this Carolina defense. So it could be a little bit of uphill sledding for Tyson Badgett. Maybe we can target one of his receivers instead and push the production through them. Cole Kmet has certainly been a popular target. It's a revenge game for DJ Moore. I like what Kmet's been doing. More high price tag as well. Wow, Komet is 4K less. Komet is 6,600. DJ Moore is 10,600. So with DJ Moore, you're really paying up to get contrarian, which I do think is a positive. But God, that's so much money when Komet's been a lot more involved recently. You can see DJ Moore's box scores: 9 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets. Komet might have a similar workload, but obviously a lot better results. No, he's had more targets, 10 and 8. Huh. Man, Komet's the better play. Yeah, so that's the thing, and we talk about a lot here with showdowns. And I see our guy Ross is officially rebranded fully to Robert Griffin III. So shout out to whatever behind the scenes branding work that our guy Ross is doing. Yeah, I think Komet is the better play. The issue again, though, is just like Komet's the better play. Everybody's going to know he's the better play. So does that make DJ Moore a more interesting play to go to? Kind of think it does. I kind of think it does. I'm going to go DJ Moore captain. This is a hot take, but this is one where I guess we'll see what the ownership has. But Komet's been rolling hot. We have the box scores. And you have a 4K difference in salary. Objectively, I would say that Cole Kmet is the better play. But for showdowns, it's not about playing the best guys. It's just unique constructs. It's about trying to leverage against a lot of these things that are out there that people are going to be playing as absolutely binary things. And I do think that Cole Kmet at his price tag will be treated like he's a for sure thing. And at captain, I think he allows you to get all the studs in. So that's the kind of player that's going to be a little bit too obvious, I would think. We'll see what the Sims say. For this hand build, though, I'm going to go DJ Moore at captain. Nicholas Hartley with a, hey guys, what's up? A very innocent intro. Hey, Nicholas, appreciate you being here, man. Shout out to all the chat. As always, appreciate the Squirt Squad being here. And of course, you can join the Squirt Squad by subscribing or hit that join button down below for $4.99 a month. Get all that sweet data that I give on Saturdays in your life, as well as getting all these special badges, custom emojis, all the stuff here that we try to build out. And of course, the credits at the end of the episodes here. That's how I give my thanks to all of you for helping us put on a show here. Deonta Foreman in a good spot. No Khalil Herbert once again. Foreman, we have seen got a lot of workload recently. Again, revenge game for him too. If we want to, I know people always love to hear about that. Foreman has not given up much of the role to Roschon Johnson, which bums me out because I really do think that if Roschon had played that 1 week he had a concussion, we'd be talking a different tale right now where Roschon would be the one crushing. Foreman wouldn't have a role or he would have a backup role. But Foreman, of course, had that one big game. And since then, he is just kind of being mid as Deonta Foreman is. 20 carries last game. Roschon was at just 2 attempts, 1 target. Man, you really can't go to Roschon at all, huh? I would go to Roschon in a 150 set for a hand build, though. I do think Deonta Foreman is a strong play. We are eating up a lot of fucking salary, though. But here we go. Deonta Foreman at 8,600. These are uncomfortable price tags to play for players of this quality, but that is the kind of slate we are on. Again, Foreman's matchup, flat 0 EPA, going against Carolina's defense in the run game, and also a 0.24 EPA per red zone rush. So we're seeing positive expected points added in the run game, no matter where they are on the field, but especially in the red zone for a guy like Foreman. I think that could be pretty crucial. So for Foreman, just probably needs to punch into the box once, if not twice. If he gets it in twice, maybe he's a captain play. But I think in this build, I'm actually not opposed to flipping him to captain, to be honest, because I don't know if Moore has a slate-breaking ceiling, and I think we're getting unique enough by putting him there. So actually, I am going to go Foreman as captain. I've talked myself into it. Some risk, again, that Foreman can lose touches to Roschon. They do like Roschon. I like Roschon. I think Roschon is a better, again, I've said it before, I think he's a better pass catcher than Khalil Herbert, / pass protector. I think he's a better sledgehammer back than Deonta Foreman. That said, the Bears haven't seen that because Foreman had the one good game, and that's kept Roschon off the field. But I think that looks pretty good. Do I have nerd stuff on Panthers versus wide receiver ones? So not versus wide receiver ones. I don't break it down like that. I break it out versus wide receiver or versus out wide versus the slot versus tight end versus running backs. Their weakest versus tight end is the Carolina D. 0.45 EPA to target allowed to tight ends, 0.22 allowed out wide, and then a 0.05 allowed to the slot, and a negative 0.37 allowed to running back. So they do cover running back routes pretty well. But out wide, it's a pretty good matchup. One that I think DJ Moore should be able to take advantage of. And I think, too, we could theoretically play Moore and Kmet together. So maybe we just go Bears onslaught. Is this a total that does support the Bears? But if Moore and Kmet make it in, can Moore and Kmet make it as flexes without Badgett making it in? Yes, they can, but it probably means that Badgett turned it over. So I think that makes this a Carolina Panthers D build. Yeah. I don't know that I love that. 4K salary for the Panthers. So again, the logic here would be, if you're building out your lineup, obviously people know, try to tell a story with your lineup kind of thing. If Kmet makes a lineup, if Moore makes a lineup, but Badgett doesn't, that does mean that there's a reason that Badgett doesn't make it. And so that's either these guys don't score touchdowns, or that they're just getting a lot of PPR points and they don't actually get into the end zone, or Badgett turns it over and has a pretty bad day. Worried about Herbert getting activated was question. I think it's already been said he's not going to go this week. So no, but it is a really weird one to definitely try to parse out, because Matt Eberflus, you might have seen the press conference going viral of him where he talks about Justin Fields' injury. He has no clue what the fuck to say. So, but I do think that Herbert is supposed to not be activated this week was the most recent reports that I saw. All right. So we have Komet here. I'm going to put Panthers D in. I think a 4K salary makes some sense. Obviously going to be a little more expensive. Panthers D on the year. Are they doing anything good that makes me want to feel like this is the right move? They blitz at a 29% rate, get pressure at a 20% rate, which is higher than Chicago's defense. Chicago gets pressure on a 15.5% rate. Man, just Bryce Young is so much worse. Like, if I were to play a defense agnostically, I think it'd be the Bears defense. Obviously, kind of a little bit of box score watching with that one, given that Bryce Young just threw 2 pick sixes last week. But I think that makes the Panthers D a little bit more appealing as well. So I don't think they're a good defense, but I think they can get a takeaway from Tyson Badgett. Badgett on the year, 5% interception rate. He's not the most accurate QB, though he's actually a little more accurate than it might seem. A 67% catchable ball rate. I think he can throw a pick here and we can get a pick 6. I'm going to go with Panthers D. We'll stick with it. All right, so cheap guy. Mingo is way too cheap. Fuck, man. Mingo's going to be in every goddamn lineup, isn't he? Mingo's too cheap if DJ Chark's not playing. Mingo does stink for the most part. I am not Jonathan Stinko, more like. 35 routes per game, negative 0.26 EPA per target, a 9% intended touch rate. So when he's on the field playing a snap, they're basically feeding the ball 9% of the time, which is higher than Hayden Hurst, higher than Tommy Tremble, not higher than Terrace Marshall, not higher than Adam Thielen. Is this? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so if Mingo's going to be the guy that people go to, he's going to project well. What if this is a Terrace Marshall slate? He should be getting more routes. There's no DJ Chark. That's what's been holding him back. Terrace Marshall angry after he couldn't find a trade for himself. Terrace Marshall, no box score things are going to point to him in a big way, but the talent is there, guys. LSU's Terrace Marshall, my Terrace Marshall, he is going to be the last player here. And here's our final team in the single entry huddle, 15K to first place. What? Fuck you. What the fuck is that one? Oh, what was the team I built? Oh, God damn it. I had, 4-minute captain, more. I've never seen the we can't submit your entry thing. I have money, so that's not it. Boy, fucking making me look like a bum here. Panthers, I lost all the joy that I had of selecting Terrace Marshall. Okay, and then who did I have in? Who was him? Oh, Komet. Okay, so we're leaving a lot of money on the table. That works. Okay. Well, it entered the... What the fuck, DraftKings? Yeah, I built the nuts and they won't allow me to win. This is discrimination. All right, I'm gonna put this in later. I'll leave this tab open. I need to put this in, but I will do it later. One more try. Submit again. Fuck you. All right. I'm not going to make you guys keep watching me do this, but that is going to be the lineup that I put into the huddle later on today. 4-minute captain, DJ Moore, Adam Thielen, Panthers D, Terrace Marshall, Cole Komet. A 3-3 build's kind of middling it, but we'll see what the projections make us do. Only Yuta could submit that one. Yeah, 2 of the GOATs here building the same lineups tonight. I do have to say, one thing that always brings me joy on a showdown slate is when I see that Ricky D is playing the same lineup as me in the Millie Maker, and I'm like, all right, we built one good one. The other night I was like, I must win this because I have the same lineup as Ricky D for 5 of them. Didn't work out that way, unfortunately. I must have Ricky's worst lineups on that showdown slate. All right, updated 2 hours ago, stochastic projections. We're going to look at the projections now as well as the ownership projections. And of course, it's going to tell us what we should see coming up in a moment here on the Fantasy Cruncher Optimizer. Adam Thielen's hot projected play. Got to think he's going to appear in every lineup with almost a 2 fantasy point projection difference between him and number 2. Tyson Badgett probably going to make a lot as well. He's the best projected Bear. Number 2 projected overall player in the slate with a 15.9 projection at that $9,200 salary. So I think we did something unique there in the lineup that I can't submit. Not playing Badgett, I think, will be a unique lever. And playing his pass catchers without him absolutely is going to be unique. Bryce Young, number 3, 14.4 projection. Chuba Hubbard, number 4, at 11.1 projection. And DJ Moore coming in at number 5, just a little bit ahead of Cole Komet with an 11.01 projection. Top values on the slate. Terrace Marshall. Fuck. Terrace Marshall might come up then. Really thought that Mingo was going to come up as a better value. So relative to this, we'll see what the optimizer gives us. But if Marshall gets into a lot more lineups, I think that Mingo is going to be the better play, even though I think that Terrace Marshall is a much better player than Jonathan Mingo. But Mingo's salary being higher, Marshall being that cheap, people are going to know that Chark is going to vacate some routes outside. Those are all things that might push people onto Terrace Marshall a little bit more. So I think Marshall's still a very good play, but I'm curious to see what the ownership is going to be and what the sim is going to be as well for Terrace Marshall, because I think he might come up pretty heavily here with that projection at a $400 salary. This is a pretty big projection for a guy who's that cheap. Other ownership plays here. Of course, the ownership projections for Stochastic. This will get updated throughout the course of the day, so pay for it yourself. I think it's a great thing to do. Stochastic's data, very well representative of what the market is out there. A lot of people use their data, as well as a lot of people use their data rolled up into other projections. So as a result, Stochastic, I think, does the best job of typifying of what a field's going to be. Adam Thielen projects to be the chalkiest play in the slate, 70% overall, 18% at captain. If you play him at captain, you're going to have to get unique, have to leave some salary on the table, absolutely. But Adam Thielen is the obvious play today, and he's on the thumbnail, so we did that. And again, I don't look at the data for this stuff. I don't look at the projections and all that when I build my content. So it's always nice to feel like I'm aligned with what the numbers actually say. Tyson Bagent, number 2 owned, as we talked about, and that makes sense. 13% captain ownership. Bagent is running now 4.3 times per game. I guess you could play him at captain. If you're playing at captain, though, I would still probably double stack him at captain for sure. Komet and Moore are going to be the obvious ones. Tyler Scott, a value play. Darnell Mooney, an absolute tournament play at 7,400. Nobody's going to want to pay 7,400 for Darnell Mooney. So I think he is kind of live as a captain play, as well as a player to put with if you have Tyson Bagent at captain. Bryce Young, number 3, 56% ownership, 10% at captain. Chuba Hubbard, number 4, 42% overall, 40% at captain. Low-owned guys you can go to who probably won't be in a lot of lineups. Tyler Scott, who did project pretty well. Tommy Tremble, Darrington Evans, Rasheem Blackshear, Robert Tonyan. Blackshear feels like his role's kind of gone, but Miles Sanders back in the mix. Sanders probably in a 50-50 timeshare with Chuba Hubbard, worth pointing out. Chuba, I think the exact quote from Frank Reich is that Chuba is what our quote-unquote starter, but they are expecting both guys to rotate in pretty heavily, so just one other note there that I did not hit. All right, let's put this in the Fantasy Cruncher Optimizer and see what we get. All right, projections in. And of course, what we're going to see here on the screen for Fantasy Cruncher is not exactly what the field's going to play, but if you use the projections, it'll tell you what the math pushes people towards a little bit more each time. And obviously, people have their preferences, have their plays, but ultimately, a lot of people are building off projections. So just knowing what the optimizer pushes you towards based off the pure math will tell you what the field ends up on, even if it's unintentionally. So Bryce Young, 84% of teams. Oh, fuck, baby. Bryce Young is in every lineup, guys. You know how I feel about Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young, in his best case scenario, was going to be a system QB. And in this system, it's not a good system. So Bryce Young has been a dog shit QB on the year, -2.6 EPA per dropback, -3.1 EPA per pass. He's been very bad at everything. Catchable ball rate of 64% is worse than Tyson Bagent. He's also got a 5.5 intended air yards per attempt, so he's not even throwing it deep. There's just little upside to having Bryce Young. I will say right away that my way to get unique is just to say, fuck you, Bryce Young, and I'm not going to play you. I think Bryce Young, if he's going to be in 100% of lineups based on the math, it's not a play I'd want to go to. Ivan says you could submit your DK lineups now. All right, let's see. Ivan, I hope you're right. All right, Ivan, I'm testing your theory here. We're going to rebuild this one. This is terrible content to keep doing this, but Lord knows I'm going to do it. Terrace Marshall in the lineup. More, not Mpu, more. Komet. Who the fuck else did I have? Panthers D. And then we left money on the table to play Thielen. There we go. Ivan, you tease. Ivan had one of our most trusted guys, the only guy out there in the DFS world who also has a splash play avatar. And here I am getting denied. It actually is currently saying on DK that I have a 0 balance. So that's, which is also not the case. DK going through some issues, which is always fun to see on a stream. But I blame Ivan. I blame Ivan first and foremost. Spags tilting at any form is always great content. I get easily mentally broken by this stuff. All right, so Bryce Young appears in every lineup. Jonathan Mingo in almost every lineup, not in every lineup. Tyson Bagent in every lineup. So we have our guys. If you were building lineups, if I were building 5 lineups today, what I would do is separate out Bryce Young and Tyson Bagent. I would not play them together in the same lineup. That is something that is going to come up easily because of the math. And as we've seen before, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Pickett last week, whenever you see these two guys aligned together, where they're appearing 100% aligned, it's because of just the projections. That's right away a way to chop away from the field, because a lot of people tonight are going to play Badgett and Bryce Young, and yes, they both can get there. But if you just want to get away from 60%, 70% of the field potentially, playing just one of those guys is going to be a pretty big move to get away from that high ownership, and Badgett in particular. Yeah, I think it's pretty tough. Sorry, I was getting errors and now can submit squirtless. I'll squirt you good, Ivan. All right, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen also in every lineup. So you have 3 guys appearing in every lineup, which is a little bit more rare. So Badgett, Thielen, Young in every lineup, and that's probably 100% of the field tonight, I would think, will play at least one of those guys. So you really want to go for the pure uncut stuff. You don't play Thielen, you don't play Young, you don't play Badgett. That is obviously omitting 3 of the strongest projection plays, but that's sometimes what you have to do in a showdown slate. And I can tell you that is what I will do in some of my sets tonight for sure. I put in about 220 lineups for every showdown slate, mini max, the 220 maxes, the whatever, the ones, and about 40 entries in the Millie Maker. And that's what I will be doing tonight. And I will tell you that I will have a good amount that just have none of those 3 guys, because they're going to pop up everywhere. Team stacks. So we are getting some 5-1s from Carolina, but not from the Bears. So a lot of 4-2s from Carolina, but not from the Bears. And then 3-3s less sporadic. So it does seem like you're going to get heavier Carolina builds. Carolina, you could really make the case. They're the underdog here, so they should not be the favorite that you're getting in terms of you shouldn't be getting 5-1s of an underdog. That's it should be a low-owned build. It shouldn't be a math build. So that's kind of insane right away. Number 2, the Bears are unquestionably the hotter team right now. Tyson Badgett has been, I think, looking a lot better than I would have thought possible for an undrafted guy. I think wasn't even he was like a second-tier QB in college. So he wasn't anybody that came with any sort of pedigree. I think he did set some records as a passer, but still pretty big leap upwards for him. I just don't agree. I think these projections are going to put people on the wrong plays in this game. The Bears, again, do defend the pass very poorly, but I don't think that's I don't think you should play 5-1 Carolina builds as the chalk. That's just not how that should go. So that's surprising to me. Kickers and defenses. Kickers barely coming up. Kickers obviously always going to be in play. I do think that Eddie Pinheiro would be a little more appealing, because I do expect Carolina to be able to move the ball pretty well against the Chicago defense. But Bryce Young, again, sucks. So if he gets in the red zone, they can easily stall out and kick some field goals. And the Panthers are not a team where they're going for it on 4th down a lot. They're happy to kick field goals away. So I do think Panthers, Pinheiro to me, kind of in play as a captain, honestly. I don't think we got him in this build, but I think he can kick a lot of field goals tonight. A kicker captain, though, pretty thin. That's not what I'm firmly advocating for. But I do think kicker overall, a very good play in the slate, and they're not coming up math-wise. Honestly, you can play both kickers tonight. I wouldn't be mad at it. Panthers D coming up 36% of these 25 lineups. So pretty well represented. Bears D, not that well represented. So I did take the chalkier D out of the 2. Bears D, I mean, we know what they can do. Again, Bryce Young sucks. He's not ready for prime time. He's frankly not big enough, not athletic enough to do the stuff that you need to do, even if you're not ready for prime time. So Panthers D going to be pretty obvious, but I think Bears D, based on what we're seeing here, probably a more appealing play. Panera revenge game. That's right. I didn't realize there were so many revenge games going on between the Bears and the Panthers, but yes, revenge afoot. Having a tough time clicking Badgett today. I think Badgett is good, and I think the running that he showed last game in particular, he broke some big runs. In terms of the matchup, it is a positive QB run matchup. Carolina on the year giving up a 0.47 EPA per QB rush, which would be about flat average with the middle of the league. So Badgett should be able to run a little. But I think, if I were to choose between them, obviously, and again, I'm biased, but I would play Tyson Badgett over Bryce Young. I think Badgett's a strong play. He's probably the best play relative projection on the slate. If I were to fade one of those 3 guys that are in every single lineup for the projections here, I'm on an optimizer. It's Bryce Young by a mile. I would much rather play Thielen. I'd much rather play Badgett, but I don't know. Badgett can throw picks. He can throw picks. He definitely in love with his arm a little bit more, in love with his accuracy a little bit more than he should be. Let's run the Sims here and see what we get. Of course, if you're not familiar with the Stochastic Sims, what it's going to do is try to build 10,000 lineups. And what it's going to do is have those 10,000 lineups compete against each other 40,000 times. So we will see what it does here. And once again, while this loads, I will give the quick plugs here. Please do subscribe down below. Please hit the like button. Please leave a comment. Splash Play, of course, goes off every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. I'm here doing something every day. And of course, on Mondays and Thursdays, doing the showdown builds. And I would say, frankly, the most revealing showdown content in the industry, not because of how much skin that I show, but in general here, I think we do the best job. So I watch ETR, watch Stochastic. Y'all do great jobs as well. But I think in terms of like telling you what you actually should be playing, I think I'm fucking crushing it this year. So please do subscribe down below. And while we simulate, also, please go visit probably.com. As I mentioned earlier, our revenue generating products are coming live soon. What that means for you is basically you'll be able to see the most profitable bets in every sport, every league, every whatever. You can go through and find them easily on probably.com. Of course, what we do is track the top sports books around the world to find what they are saying the true probabilities of every outcome is, and we weigh them against legal sportsbook in the US. So that's what we're doing at probably.com, but it's going to be $20 a month or $50 a month if you want the live in-game data. But probably support, probably, please, because if you are supporting probably, you are supporting me and my dreams more than anything. All right, let's get to the Sims here. I'm rolling out my Sims of 10,000 monkeys, making 10,000 lineups. Honestly, the same thing. The process is not that different. Top ROI lineup according to this. Of course, you can see the ROIs on the left side here. Tyson Bagent, Chuba Hubbard, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Roshan Johnson. So this is a team that makes sense in terms of the build. Bagent at captain with 2 pass catchers, along with 3 pass catchers. So really loading up on Tyson Bagent. I would think that'll be a lower owned version of a 50K build just because I don't imagine that people will stack up the Bears quite this much. But normally a 50K salary with a chalky captain, not a type of team that you'd want to build for sure. And I'm going to read Spurious News' chat. You're definitely the best at working through the process and making stands that make sense. Appreciate it. Thank you, Spurious News. I accept that. That sounds the same to me as best showdown content in the industry. But yes, I think that Spurious News' take is a much more fair and unbiased one than mine. Top 150 lineups. Let's look at that. Top 150, highest exposure player is Bagent in the flex. So again, Bagent a good play. The Sims do want you to play Bryce Young. I don't agree. I don't agree. 59% Bryce Young coming up here. We are getting about 14% leverage on both Bagent and Bryce Young in the flex. Adam Thielen coming up at 50% of lineups, a little bit more than the field as well in the flex. Top owned captains, Bagent at 30%. So they really want the Bagent triple in the Sims. Man, I don't know. I don't know about that. Thielen, how many lineups is Sanders on? Let's see. Miles Sanders made it into 4% of lineups in the flex, none at captain. Oh, it does seem like they have Khalil Herbert in these projections. So that is something to keep in mind here. It's obviously going to change the equation a little bit. Again, check the data throughout the course of a day. Stochastic, I presume, I don't know. I think they were assuming that Herbert's coming off IR, but my expectation is that he's not coming off IR based upon what I read. But obviously that's going to move this data around a little bit, so keep that in mind. Sims don't comprehend how dog shit these teams and QBs are. I mean, look, if you're going to talk me into either side being one that you would really like stack up, it should be going against the Bears pass D, because the Bears pass D is not good. Like, they're objectively bad at every portion of the field. They don't defend running back targets well. They don't defend the slot well. Like, they don't defend easy targets well. So I would think like a Bryce Young stack would be more appealing than Bagent. Like, Bagent's been good, but I just don't think he's like triple stack at captain good. But Sims and Fantasy Cruncher seem to be in violent disagreement. Yeah, they're definitely pushing more Bears. Yeah, they're actually, that's rare. Usually you do see kind of the projections drive the Sims a little bit more, but the projections are saying Panthers. The Sims are saying Bears. So kind of interesting to note there. Highest cashing lineup here. If you want to play one in cash, it'd probably be this one. Again, Tyson Bagent at captain, Adam Thielen, Bryce Young, Cole Kmet, Jonathan Mingo, Panthers. This lineup, I think, yeah, that feels like a little more cashy. Not triple stacking Bagent is definitely a move that is going to be a little bit less high owned. Any requests for captains to look at here? I think what would be one that I'd be curious about? I mean, I know what I'm curious about. I don't think this is actually a good captain play, but I would like to see it. Top ROI, Terrace Marshall captain. Terrace Marshall at captain, Adam Thielen, Bryce Young, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore tight. Wow. This is a fucking sick lineup. So you're leaving 1,400 on the table. You're still getting all the studs, including Bryce Young. You're getting all the studs and also Bryce Young. I like this build. Marshall captain. It's like too easy to cram in all the studs. You probably want to deviate. Like, I would probably leave out Bryce Young. Maybe go to Bears D over him. Do something that gets a little bit more weird. But yeah, like if you go Terrace Marshall at captain, you really can fit literally every relevant player on the slate. Go Bryce Young to Foreman, I think would be the move for this build. But I like that a lot. I think it's a strong team. Hubbard captain. Let's look at it. Filter. Let's filter it away. Chuba. Chuba, Chuba, Chuba. Chuba, Chuba, Chuba. Chuba captain with Bryce Young, Darnell Mooney, Panthers D, Roshan Johnson, and Tyson Bagent. Chuba Hubbard, Adam Thielen, Bears D, Cole Kmet, Khalil Herbert, Tyson Bagent. So you're kind of getting a feel here, not cramming in quite as many studs. If you do go Chuba at captain, it does seem like the highest ROI ones are going to be to avoid some of jamming in all the studs and instead trying to stack a little bit more. I don't know that I love those teams. How much more Roshan shows up with Herbert out? All right. You know what? Fuck, we got a minute. We're going to rerun it. Let's see. This is not going to affect the projections, though, but you can take out Herbert. And we'll rerun them all. Regenerate lineups. But yeah, I would think that Herbert not being in the projections will give a pretty big boost. Was Herbert? Hold on. Yeah, Herbert is in their projections here. I would think Herbert, so Herbert's got a 6.95 fantasy point projection. I would think that Foreman gets over 10, and Foreman probably becomes a similar play to Cole Kmet at a higher salary. And I would think then Roshan, this is a crazy projection for Roshan because like the snap counts have not shown, like these projections for Roshan and Foreman, I don't think should be that close. Like I love Roshan, but he has not earned the role. And last week he had how many snaps? Roshan played 20 snaps last week compared to 40 for Foreman. So Foreman had double the snaps. I would tinker with this projection a little. Like, and obviously Stochastic will probably do that over the course of a day because I think they just kind of auto run these in the morning before their run of shows. I would guess that, Foreman should probably have not double the projection of Roshan, but maybe about double. So I think you're looking at like 10 for Foreman, 5 for Roshan to be my projection. Yeah, I wish he got way more run. I agree. Like I wish that this were an accurate projection, but I just don't think it is. But again, they're going to move it around the day, so I don't want to shit on them too much. But obviously, yeah, like that's why I say when I do this video, I'm doing it right now. It's 11:37 a.m. on the East Coast. The data moves around throughout the course of a day, so just something to keep in mind. What the fuck? Give me my contest sim. I want my Khalil Herbertless sim. What is okay? Oh, because it's saying Maine. That's why. Oh, that's on me, but still a pain in the ass. All right, let's see what we're getting without Herbert. But again, it's not going to change the projection. So I imagine what's going to happen is you're just going to get a lot more Roshan. But that Roshan projection, I mean, ETR has Roshan at what? ETR actually put their projections out before the show today. They have Foreman 13.1, and they do not have Herbert in their projections. They have Foreman at 13.1, Roshan at 6.2. So that's it. So basically, yeah, they're saying what I just said, that double the projection for Foreman as you're seeing for Roshan, though they have both guys projected pretty highly. So interesting to note there. But Foreman on ETR looks like a smash play. And obviously on Stochastic with Herbert in does not look like the same case. All right, so here's how does it change things? Let's see. Yeah, getting a lot more Roshan, 34% Roshan here. Not getting Foreman at this projection, it looks like. Yeah, not getting betting 5% Foreman. So this is going to be completely different. I would think, I don't want to misspeak for the Sims, obviously, but I do think that, I think Foreman would be a much more highly owned play if we did have Herbert out of their projection. So that's just the main thing I'll say. Let's do our 3 takeaways here. And then, sim-wise, you guys get the deal here. Nothing else I think I have to show you. Here's some here. If you want to pause your screen, here's the top ROI lineups. But again, they're going to change throughout the course of a day, especially with the Foreman projection being what it is. There you go. All right. 3 takeaways. 3 takeaways as always for the slate to build more unique lineups. Number 1, I think just trying to get away from one of, you know which one that I would say you should move away from, but get away from one of Tyson Bagent, Adam Thielen, Bryce Young. Projections are going to push you on all of those guys. This Foreman stuff we talked about, it's not going to change the equation, I don't think, for those guys. Those 3 are coming up in every lineup. If it does change, I'll mention it in the Deposit Kingdom Discord, of course, in the Splash Play channel. But that is where we are. That's where I'm seeing it right now. Those guys come up everywhere. Every time you see guys coming up in 100% of the projected lineups there on Fantasy Cruncher, that just means that these guys end up in the lineups a lot more than they should. And you guys saw with Bryce Young, like, I just don't think Bryce Young should come up in every lineup. It really screams to me like what Kenny Pickett did last week, where it's like Pickett comes up in every lineup. I get why he projects well. He's not that guy. Bryce Young is just not that guy. So I think that's really how I feel about that. I would really try to get away from Bryce Young, but you can get away from any of those three and get more unique. Number two would be playing a little more Bears. The Sims are saying that. I think the projections push you more towards Carolina, but the game script does say more Bears. So I think trying to play more builds with 4-2 Bears, even 5-1 Bears I can get to. The one would probably be Thielen in that build, or one of Thielen, Mingo, like a pass catcher, basically, I would think is what you're trying to get on that one. But I would say 5-1 Bills with Bears, 4-2 ones with Bears. Underrepresented on the projections, but the Sims say that's a good play. So I'd push more towards what the Sims are saying there. And number three would be, it's Terrace Marshall season. I think is what number three will be. How much did Terrace Marshall come up, actually? Because I did not check that, and actually is important to know. All right, so Mingo comes up 43% at flex, 10% at captain. Terrace Marshall comes up. Oh, Terrace Marshall's not coming up in the sim at all. So Marshall, again, a good projection play, not a great sim play. Watch the ownership. Like if Marshall's ownership is high on ETR, high on stochastic, you play Mingo. If Mingo's ownership is high, you play Marshall. But I think if Marshall becomes the du jour value play, and you hear Gary Hartman and Cody Main talk about it on ETR today, you hear the stochastic guys talk about it, then don't go more Mingo than Marshall. But if those guys are like, Mingo, this Mingo is a great play at the salary, play Marshall is how I'd approach that. I think Marshall's a great play. I think he's a strong player who just hasn't gotten the chance because of what they did with the coaching turnover, as well as the guys they brought in at receiver. If he's out there for 40 snaps tonight, I think Marshall can break the slate. And I think he can be viable as captain. It all depends on Bryce Young, but I really do believe in Terrace Marshall. So I hope he's the one that's lower owned, but you really just got to go. Again, the plays you like doesn't matter. Whoever's lower owned and whoever's getting talked up around the industry, just go in the opposite way is where you're going to win the most money. So there we go with that. Terrace Marshall is professional wide receiver, which is what's needed today. I agree. What also is needed today, guys, is going to be you guys subscribing down below, hitting the like button, leaving a comment. Of course, ask me any questions you want. If you want me to look up any data, I do check it throughout the course of the day, and I always reply to every comment here on Splash Play. So please do that. Of course, subscribe as we are on our march to 3K subs, and Lord knows one day we're going to get there. So please do subscribe. Help a brother out and do that. Go check out Probably as well, getting good bets. Whatever the sport is, we have good bets for you. And honestly, the best you could do is just bet on any sport that has a plus EV bet. So check it out at probably.com. You know the deal. Top sportsbooks around the world. We pull their data to find you the best sportsbook opportunities. It is I wouldn't say it's a sure way to win money, but it is mathematical profitability in the simplest way. So check that out. And of course, pay for a sub when I tell you to pay for a sub coming up probably tomorrow. And I'll be back tomorrow here at 11 a.m. of course. So shout out to the Squirt Squad. Let me make sure to get them. Of course, there they all are in all their glory. These are the people that you should be thanking for helping me put on these shows every day. And of course, join the squad here by hitting the join button down below for $4.99 a month, and also get access to my data on Saturday mornings, the data that I look at and swear by. You can get for yourself here. But appreciate all you guys being here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Enjoy your days. And of course, good luck. If I don't take this down, I hope you do. Bye.